did a data model Fidelity report. So we did the automation. That's the techie, interesting thing today, I suppose. Take it away. What is it? What's important? What was wrong? What we did? Where are we now? What comes next? We'll go over each of these. This is just what's to come. In the Army, they say to take it to the lowest common denominator. Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. And then through these 3 steps, finally you should impart some kind of knowledge to even the people who are slow. So.
No, actually, generally the 4th one. Tell me what you understand.
Oh, tell me what you understand. Then I get it.
In Army, they don't see it.
That report, it's a list of discrepancies between the warehouse logical models, physical models, and the database objects. So, for example, tables, columns, keys that are in the model, but they're not in the database, or in the database and not in the model. Differences. Any names that are different. You have the table defined in Irwin, but the naming is different, either the table itself or the columns. Objects that exist only in the model or only in the database, those will come to light. It helps us keep the models and the database in sync. We spend lots of time now and over the years documenting the business in the models, logical physical models. So maintaining the integrity of the finished work is necessary to ensure the models are trustworthy and useful. Before this effort, before we had some Irwin Sync CI a year ago or so, it's really surprising how different they were. We couldn't actually recreate what was in the database from the model. They were so far apart. And now we've come a long way where we can actually do that if we needed to do that. This comes to bite us. The Irwin tool makes it easy to introduce changes that you didn't intend. And you don't even know that you did it. It's something behind the scene or a consequence of something that you're working on changed over here, but you didn't know it. And so this tool will bring to light any of those differences. Next, please. What was wrong with it? It was a great report. It did what we wanted it to do. We got the information from the report that we needed. It showed where the differences were, and we could easily go in and look at one place or the other and find out what needed to be changed. But it took a long time to prepare. It was a very manual process. Depending on how many times you had run it, it could take 2 to 3 hours. If you're really good at it, a couple hours. And because it took so long, we didn't run it as often as we wanted to. So the opportunity was automate the manual tasks. It frees analysts to spend time on more interesting work. We can run it more frequently and eliminate handling errors from when we were doing all the manual tasks. This is this is the old way and the new way, a time comparison. We automated the extraction of data from Irwin and Netezza using a Python script. Let's see, that's I think both of these 2 steps here. 30 minutes down to about 6 minutes. And then automated loading that extracted data into Netezza using Informatica. Another 25 minutes down to 5 minutes. So total savings, 45 minutes here. And lots of savings of frustration. Next, please. Then, I don't want to say we, Naresh, this is Naresh's contribution to this project, automated the formatting of the report. So we took the data from Netezza, and the presentation layer is an Excel spreadsheet with several worksheets within it. And each worksheet basically corresponds to some query or some view in the database, and we would extract the data and paste it in there. Naresh wrote some Visual Basic and some data connection object or something like this in Excel, with some macros, some fancy stuff, that just with one keystroke, it would refresh all of the worksheets in this spreadsheet and also the summary statistics so that we could see for each category, each metric, what are the counts. And before, this took usually 1 hour. This is best case scenario, I would say. And your hand would get tired. Lots of copy pasting, down to maximum 5 minutes, maybe even a little bit less. And now that we're, for the most part, the team has resolved almost all of the discrepancies to 0. So there's little comparison or interpretation now. If you see a number greater than 0, then you know something has changed. Before, when you had a count for every category, you had to compare. Okay, so did something go up or did something go down? Well, now that the baseline is 0, you run this report, and if you have a count in any categories, it just stands out. So you don't really have to hunt and find out what to change. But there's the follow-up from the report, that also hasn't changed. Then some analysts will go look in the model or look in the database and find out what's changed that caused this. Do we need to back something out? Do we need to update something? Do we need to change the report? It didn't catch something like this. So please, next. Now maximum 30 minutes. Probably now 20 minutes, I would say, down from a minimum of 2 hours. So really, really a huge improvement here. We can run it more frequently, and there's fewer errors. It's very consistent. Please. But there's still several steps you have to go through. We've used several tools: Python script, FTP to the server, Informatica, and Irwin macros. So at least 4 different places we have to control some program to execute the automation. What would be really nice would be, I say, the 1-button solution, or even no buttons. It's just scheduled, and every day it comes into your email box, right? That would be the dream. We're not there yet, so maybe this is where we currently are. Oh, currently is back. This is next. After next, there will be another next, right? That would be total automation, hands off. But still, there's potential for combining some of these into one script to rule them all, kind of thing, that would coordinate all of that. Some difficulties, some possibilities still out there. Please. This is going into the nitty-gritty. The Python code, I wrote 3 modules, and this is the main module that controls all of them. So basically, you're running this one here, and it does all the work. It will extract from Irwin, extract from Netezza, and load both into a CSV file. So that's step 1. I think maybe it's not useful. Anyone who's interested, we can go in a little bit more depth into this. But probably key things here are these DMF SQL is module 2 and DMF helper is module 3 that I wrote. I also put them up here. SQL will, this module here, it reads text files of SQL needed to do the extract that Kishore wrote. He provided in .txt or .sql. It's just in the file system somewhere. So the SQL is not in the program. It just used as is what Kishore provided in text files, and it will read them all into memory. And then DMF helper takes those individual queries and submits them either to Netezza or to Irwin, and processes the result set that comes back, and then pipes it into a CSV file. So you can go to the next one. This is the one that reads. So I just listed the name, basically the name of the file. I append a QRY if it's Irwin, or SQL if we're reading Netezza, and I've separated them into 2 different classes. So most of it's coming from Irwin. The load, using Informatica, we were able to bypass some of the some of the data handling just by reading Netezza and writing to Netezza. But this one table, we couldn't do that. So we actually extracted from Netezza and then loaded using Informatica. Okay, next. And then it's all pretty short. You see, you can get your head around it really quickly. this is just changes some data types, kind of structures, and then this one here is what takes the query, submits it to the database, and then iterates over the result set to load into the CSV file. Next. This is the workflow. After you have the, after you run this, it takes 2 minutes maybe, 2 minutes to extract the data. You FTP it to the Informatica server, and then run this workflow. Workflow will load tables, truncate and load tables in a metadata RDS schema. This one takes a little longer, maybe 5 minutes. Yeah, next. And then this is the Excel spreadsheet where we have some code to connect it to Netezza and extract the results from what was loaded with Informatica. And before, this is the old way actually, we would right-click. There were, I think, somewhere around 20 or 25 separate columns among a dozen or so worksheets. You would right-click and hit refresh, and the data would be refreshed. But then Naresh took it one step further, and he has one macro to do that automatically. So just one keystroke, and it will iterate over all those 27 different queries and updating them like that. Takes about 3 minutes, let's say. Yeah. And next.
Q&A.